Hey guys, we are glad you're here. We got a powerful session wrapped up. We have our wonderful Mary Bibb, Money Coach RN. We have our special guest Tony, and the funny thing is Tony is a pharmacist.
It's
He's a
Kelsey Care
coach.
Night and the real talk of Breakin chains and taking names.
Yep, breaking chains and taking names. So, we're doing the Happy Pharmacist today.
Good name. Right. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I'm a pharmacist. True. I guess the theme I like to talk about with most of my clients are, financial coaching, personal responsibility, and why contentment beats happiness. That's
Mm.
something that I discuss with them a lot. If I had to discuss my business and what I do, I would say that I help pharmacists go from broke to building wealth. I teach them real world money discipline that they never learned in pharmacy school. And I face the same money challenges myself, which allows me to meet the pharmacists where they are, guide them towards the peace that comes from financial freedom. And my overall arching statement to them is that a pharmacist in control of their money is a better pharmacist for their patients.
That's true.
I think that relates to any professional. I want my dentists, my nurses, my doctors to have the financial stress of their life off their shoulders so they can be in tune with each patient each time to give them the best therapy.
Ooh, that is for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you come up with that, Tony?
The way my business is set up is I actually started helping college students pass their pharmacy law exam, and I help students, either individual clients nationwide, or I work with universities directly for their entire graduating class. And when I started working with students, a lot of them, it's not uncommon to come out of school with $250,000 in debt, and they're staring down this, huge mountain of debt they have to tackle, but they're also making the most money they've ever made in their lives. And just like any athlete going from college sports to professional sports, they're facing the exact same situation. How do they tackle that? And some ask for help, others don't. But I found an instant pipeline of fresh people that have concerns, have questions, and I was able to, offer my services to them and at least set the basis of what does a healthy budget look like. How can you continue to live like you're in college to pay down your debt, set yourself up financially, and have a fantastic career, working in the profession you chose, to study for 4 to 6, 8 years possibly to get to, and set yourself up for a fantastic career in life.
Do you have a lot of interest in your students?
I do. A lot of them will reach out, mostly trying to figure out how can they just retire. I want to know how to retire. Like, okay, well, it's a process. You don't just graduate and retire, but there's nothing sexy about it. It's just long term. It's just how do you set a plan and stick to it, and that's where I think it comes in. The contentment is more. It's just greater than the happiness. Where I find today's world is all on the here and now. How can I get instant gratification? The expectation of, I'm a pharmacist, I need to have a new car, or I need to go on fancy trips, or I need to look a certain way. They are faced every single day with keeping up with the Joneses. I think, even Dave Ramsey talks about it. The BMW used to be the status symbol. Today, I call them kids still, but the kids are all about, the car they drive, or the clothes they wear, the trips they take, and they have something that I didn't really pay attention to when I was younger, but I don't have social media, so I don't get to see this constant feed of everybody living their great life, and I have to compete with that. I'm content with the life I have with the people I love in real time. So I get to have a great friend group that we hang out with, and I get to see their ups, their downs, and celebrate the wins, and also be there to help them, support them through the struggles. Where I think if you're on social media, you only see the wins, and the wins are constant, and you don't get to see that people actually struggle in their life. So you're breaking your back and spending every dollar you have to live a life to impress people you don't really care about.
Well, and Dave says too, it's a crock pot. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yep, exactly.
So it's a fix and forget.
Yep.
And my husband struggles with that a little bit. He's like, we need to, I'm like, it's a crock pot. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
It's a fix and forget it.
Yep.
Leave it
You know,
alone.
I actually knew this one guy, a whole family of the Joneses, and they're very rich. And when I was putting ads out, you don't want to be like the Joneses. It's like, we're not broke. We have money. I was like, I'm not talking about you guys.
Right. Yeah, they want to go, wait a minute, what about us?
Yeah.
So one
But
of
the
the
real
questions I have
Joneses,
for you, Tony, it's wonderful that once they're a pharmacist, a doctor, a nurse, whatever, you have ways of helping them. They're used to already on this budget, staying on that budget so that they can get out of debt pretty quickly.
Yep.
However, do you ever get the chance of talking to people before they go to college?
Not often. I feel like all my clients are people that are either postgraduate studies or have found me just being a colleague. And so they're already in their career, they're already doing something, and they just realize that something's not working. When I started a new job, I had a pharmacist ask me, what are you doing about student loans? I go, student loans? I'm like, I took those off like 8 years ago. And the look on her face was just, how is that possible? And I'm like, I worked. I paid them off. Me and my wife, we struggled to just make sure they were done. We knocked them out of the park. It was over. And the look on her face still to this day reminds me of just that look of teach me how. And she became one of my clients where I just told her how we did it and the piece that comes along with that. So I'm not arrogant enough to think I can coach everybody. I really try to keep my focus on the people that I can focus on. However, when a client comes to me and they may not be my current demographic I'm used to working with, I still think there's ability to help them, point them in the right direction, and maybe it's point them to a colleague I have of another coach. Hey, I might be busy or I might not have the right time for you, but I can find you someone that can help you. And so I do believe that God puts people on our path for a reason. And when you come across them, getting them on their right path and the right guardrails to the right person, I think is also a responsibility of the coaching. But I haven't had many people that have been before college.
Okay.
I haven't had too many before college. I have a trick for them.
Okay.
Because you can, if you catch them in senior of high school, and you have 1 year to work with them, they can go through college completely free. I've been able to talk to one student doing that. But I would love to be able to touch them that early. But my demographic is usually over 25. So I usually don't get those high schoolers.
Sure. Well, maybe I misspoke. So I'm trying something right now that's it's to be part of my business. I'm just kind of doing a tester, but I have a nephew. He's 17 years old and he's homeschooled. And out of the blue, he told my wife that he wanted to be a day trader, and that sent red flags up for me. So I reached out and said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to say, no, you can't do that. I want you to explore the world, but to go into the lion's den and not know how money works, I think I'd be doing you a major injustice as an uncle. So I told him, let's do this. And I told him I will buy Foundations in Personal Finance, homeschool, and I will work with you for a semester, and we're going to learn how money works. And then you can see, based on everything you learned, is day trading still the thing you want to try? So I'm giving that a shot. So we're going to start in January, just he and I, and we're going to set up an actual class. And he's in different states, so we're going to do Zoom calls like this to work through the material. But that's a trial for me. If that goes well with him, I'm going to probably open it up to maybe a couple of my other nieces. And then if that works out well, just like you said, I think maybe getting the demographic of high schoolers would also be a potential avenue for helping the youth navigate finances, because I see a lot of adults that can't do it. And if they were taught maybe when they were younger, maybe they could make smart decisions from an early age.
No, Tony, so many of my clients say that. I didn't learn this in high school.
Yeah.
I didn't learn. I'm like, neither did I.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, we didn't talk about it. I never knew if we had money or not, but we always had clean clothes and there was food on the table. Our fabulous trip was driving across Missouri to Kansas City to see my cousins.
Yep.
You know, but that was a whole different era.
Right.
And I've actually developed a young person curriculum. It's a six lesson curriculum
Oh, nice.
online, starting in January.
Nice. That's great. I think there needs to be more of that.
Right.
I see my college kids, they don't understand it either. I see
Right.
my colleagues I work with that don't understand it. And that's another thing I like to put out there is that just because you have a good salary doesn't mean you're going to be financially well off.
Right.
What I see in America is not a earning problem, it's a spending problem.
It is absolutely that. It's like you said, it's the contentment.
Yes.
And I totally blame social media because I'm old and I'm just kind of new to social media. But I'm like, I have a 39, a 25, and a 22-year-old. And I asked when I started the business, I said to the girls, my oldest and my middle, I said, where do I need to be to hit this demographic, to hit the young adults, to help tell them you can do life without debt? And they're like, TikTok. And I'm like, I hate TikTok.
Yeah.
But I'm on TikTok.
Okay.
Because that's my demographic.
Yeah. So I struggle with this. I'm not on social media. And I even asked one of the pastors at our church once, the church was heavily into Facebook and all these things. And I'm like, why would the church be on Facebook knowing that it's causing all these problems for the kids and stuff? And the best answer I got was Jesus went to where people were, where they needed him. And so the church is the same way. So with the pandemic and everything that happened, we put a marketing campaign out to let people know we're still out here. We put church online so people can still visit. We had to think unconventionally to make sure that we're still doing what our mission is. And that spoke to me because I was against it. Like I'm an 80-year-old in a 40-year-old body. I don't have tattoos. I don't have piercings. I don't have social media. People look at me like I'm a unicorn when I say those things, but it's a life choice.
Right.
Works well for us.
Mhm.
But for those that can do it and do it well, I'm all about it. I don't know if I'm ready to go to that level yet, but I respect the ones that do. And so I love the fact that you're willing to go to TikTok to have that conversation. And
But that's it. I mean, I'm going where they are.
Yep.
And my followers are expanding. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm doing something right.
Yeah, no, I get the emails to my business from TikTok about people are growing their business with it, and I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but it gives me something to think about.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be
Well,
honest with you, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, and YouTube. But the thing is like TikTok and Facebook, I never log in, but I have a lot of stuff there.
Okay.
well,
good
that's the beauty of the CRM we use.
Yeah. Okay.
So
That's good.
one of the questions I have for you. So we always do ads a week before you come on, all about you. Me and Mary had fun doing ads for you.
Okay.
We had like pharmacy drug bottles, scales, and stuff like that. It was kind of fun, some of the videos we had. So my question is, when you're behind the pharmacy counter and you've got a lot of medicine back there, but the bottles themselves, do you ever have fun with them? Because we had a whole bunch of fun.
Trying to think. So most pharmacies are so busy these days that we don't, play with the bottles much. We have so many bottles left over at the end of the day; they're just empty. Just getting rid of them is part of a chore. Um, as far as having fun with the bottles, I can't. Nothing comes to mind. But I will tell you, I've been in administration for a long time, and so my day-to-day life is not sitting behind the bench filling scripts like I used to. Um, But the only thing that comes to mind is one of my favorite pharmacists ever. His name was Bob, and he'd been a pharmacist forever. And there was, as his knees got a little older, and he didn't want to bend over very much, he'd drop a lid every now and again, and he'd just kick it to the back of under the shelf, and we would just deal with it. And at the end of the night, when I'd go to clean, I would have to pick up so many bottles, so many lids. I could just tell whether it was a busy day or not based on how many bottles Bob had kicked underneath the counter. And that was fun. That was fun to say, someone had to deal with it. And there's a hierarchy in pharmacy. And at the time, I was the young tech that had to take care of things. And that's the only time I could think of something that actually was kind of fun with the bottles.
I didn't think it's fun. Did you ever play basketball?
No, I was a hockey player, and believe me, I was short and not very good at basketball. So anything I would throw in the pharmacy definitely would not hit its intended target. But no, I can't think of many games we played back there. Still an excellent career, great place to work. I've had excellent colleagues. I do think at one point I had a corporate job, and we would test out the new scooters that we were going to buy for our corporation, and they were all electric. And we did occasionally have scooter races around the cubicles to see who had the fastest time. And at one point, I almost took out our soon-to-be CEO of the company when he walked in the door and we were doing this. So it was a near miss. I'm thankful that didn't happen because I can't imagine what the outcome would have been of running over the CEO or future CEO of the company.
You might have been at Walmart instead of with the students.
Yeah. So I'm glad that didn't happen. But
one of the things that come to my mind, since you said hockey, taking the trash can, putting it on the floor, sideways, and then using something like a hockey stick and taking the pill bottle and slinging it in the trash.
Yeah, it can be done. A lot of the pharmacies we worked in were pretty tight. You couldn't swing a broom if you tried. It would have been fun, but not something we typically did.
Yeah, when most pharmacies I've seen, they're not very big places.
Nope.
They shove a lot of drugs in them, but they're not very big places.
Yep, they earn a lot of dollars per square foot based on their layout.
Right. What do you like best about your job?
Letting people know that they get to be the hero of their story, and I'm just the guide. So, in every good superhero movie, Batman has Alfred. There's always a guide that helps the superhero be their best. That's the way I view my role. So it's helping them get outside of their own head, get outside of their own circumstances, really taking that personal accountability of there is no boogeyman in the ethos out to get you. And every decision you make will have an outcome. And when you're conscious of the decisions you're making, you will eventually get what you're striving for. If I can help be the guide to that, that's my whole goal. So that's the part I love the most.
I love that.
What got you into the pharmacy?
In the pharmacy?
What made you make that the career choice?
Yeah. So I wanted to be a doctor. And I was lucky enough in high school to be part of a course called Med Careers. It was a shared course at the hospital taught by doctors, nurses, surgeons, pharmacists, dentists. And you had to apply for it. And it was all 3 public high schools in my city applied for the coveted spots. And then a board would select you based on your essay and what your career goals were. And in that, we would have, classes during the day that would talk about biology, chemistry, just anatomy, physiology. And then during nights, we had to work rotations in different disciplines. Had to spend time in the OR, spend time in the ER, spend time working in, the dentist office, spend time working with the pharmacist, really getting the aspect to see how healthcare worked. And after working with the surgeons and hearing how their life was and always being on call, I kind of ruled that one out. And then working in the ER, it was crazy. I just could not believe how much chaos one place can see in an evening. And just because it's already chaotic doesn't mean more chaos can't come. So through the process of elimination, I was able to determine, I don't think med school is where I want to go. But I really enjoyed dental school or dental office, and I really enjoyed pharmacy. And so after talking to the dentist and the pharmacist, I kind of decided that's the route to go. I ended up applying to pharmacy school, and I got in while I was studying for my dental test. And when I got in, I said, you know what? pharmacy school is where I'm going to go, and I haven't looked back. It's been a fantastic
Nice.
career. I absolutely love what I do. I love the people I work with. Being able to help patients. I get to see the patients at the window that are at a fork in the road. Maybe they're newly prescribed their diabetic medications, have never been, had to inject insulin before, or you get to be the teacher for them and help them guide themselves from now being an automatic to a manual. Now they every day have to inject stuff, but they're in control. Once again, personal responsibility of their healthcare, of their life. And again, I'm a guide. I'm a guide that gets to help them to achieve their goals. And the one thing I tell all my pharmacy students is people don't understand the value of medicine, but the pharmacists help provide that value.
Mhm.
And so I take the same approach during my financial coaching. Is they may not understand the value in setting a budget and having budget meetings and working with their spouse to achieve a goal. But as a coach, I get to provide that value of show them their progress, show them where they started, show them where they're going. And as the peace starts to set in, remind them the chaos that came from, remind them where they could be if they wouldn't have made these changes. So I view the job as the pharmacist and the job as the financial coach to be very similar in the approach.
And the lives you get to impact.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Mm.
Very rewarding on both aspects.
You mentioned somebody just became a diabetic, and you'll help them with the learn how to do the shots and stuff like that. I'm a diabetic myself, and when I first got diagnosed, I hated needles, and I had to look away. And I have real good blood, so Red Cross loves me. So I would give them my arm and look away. Once they shoot me, have the needle in, I can look at the needle. I can look at the blood coming out. I just can't look when you put it in.
Sure.
And I know when I was in the hospital and they're like, okay, well, you have to pinch an area and you shoot it. I would look away, pinch, look away, jab, push. I can't tell you how many times I missed the stomach and got my
Mhm.
finger.
Mhm.
I was like, and had to
I
get
don't.
used to actually looking and putting in.
I
Um,
think as a nurse that hitting your finger is not going to have the same effect.
mhm.
Just
So
saying.
when you're a pharmacist, how do you actually help them, or do you kind of like coach them, or what does that look like in your aspect?
Kind of both. So pharmacists have really changed their profession recently where they're a lot more hands-on. And we have clinics that pharmacists actually are working collaborative practice with providers, and they're able to prescribe medications now. They're able to help do injections. They're able to do a lot of things that were traditionally more reserved for physicians, nurses, and clinic-based roles. In my role, I've given lots of flu shots, lots of immunization. But at times, we do help them if they are struggling with, like in your situation, if you're someone scared of needles and you're having trouble giving yourself injections, we'd probably sit with you and say, maybe we need to give you a needle and give you an orange and have you work with an orange for a while. The orange peel feels very much like skin as you're injecting it. So it gives you the ability to kind of watch what's going on. And once you kind of get comfortable with it, maybe then you can start doing it on yourself a little better. But you randomly injecting your finger or some other part of your body because you're not looking is probably not ideal. But we want to use coaching techniques that would help them get the best of their medication. So it really depends on the situation, but mostly we try to coach hands off if we can. If we get a patient that's still struggling, then we probably bring them in for more. Most pharmacies have counseling rooms for this exact reason to really kind of show them, work with them, and help them get the most of their medicine. Um, no pharmacist would be thrilled finding out that if they're injecting, out of a week, every day, and only 3 of those injections are actually counting, we would say that's probably not ideal. We need to get you in to make sure you get the most benefit of your medicine.
So when you're being a pharmacist and you're also a coach, do you ever use those opportunities to be able to? Now I know you were talking about with other pharmacists, You know, how you were able to pay off your student loans and it attracted their attention. But have you been able to use that to your advantage to your client, or to your customers?
No, um, you know, I used to work in corporate pharmacy where it felt like we were really trying to make money for the company between now and next Tuesday and Wall Street. Once I moved into the healthcare systems, we were able to provide medication to people regardless of their ability to pay. So we have foundation funds, we have ways to get meds paid for to make sure people are able to take their medication whether they can pay for it or not. But as far as finding someone who, possibly can't pay for the medicine, I kind of find it a conflict of interest if I were to try to spin my business on, hey, you could do some financial coaching. So I haven't taken that approach. But I always find that there's ways that when you come across people maybe outside of work where someone might just go, you look really content or peaceful. I've had someone tell me once. I'm like, oh, okay, like, what would you say that? And it's just like, oh, you just look like you don't have any worries. I'm like, I do, but they're probably not the same worries you might have, and it might come up in a conversation of like, well, money is not really something we worry about in our house. It's something we used to worry about. We don't worry about it now. And that really sparks a conversation that might lead into something else. But as far as just talking to patients about it, I think I would have a conflict of interest and a moral obligation against that. It's professional.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed. How do you approach it with your students?
With students, usually I give them a end of the year kind of survey based on how the course went for them passing their exam. But during my live sessions with them, I will bring stuff up about, when student loans are due, when they have to start having things paid, and make sure that they're aware of certain dates to get licensed. I also bring up at that time that, I do financial coaching. I've heard from most of them say, oh, well, student loans, I'm just never going to pay them off, or I'm just going to wait for the government to pay them off, or I'm going to find a job that'll pay them off for me. And my rebuttal is, why not just pay them off yourself? And that is like a foreign concept to them. But it needs one or two people to go, you mean you can actually do that? Like, absolutely. You signed up for a loan. You told the government that you would pay them back if they helped you get through school. So now it's time to honor the word that you gave. We are at a weird situation right now, though, because the Big Beautiful Bill Act actually changed some things around some of those loans for grad students, and they're going to be capped pretty soon. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. As you mentioned earlier, David, I would love for students to go to school without student loans. It's a pretty big investment, though, to have $200K saved up to go to pharmacy school these days. Not that it costs $200K everywhere, but there are some schools that charge more than that. But if they do have to take loans, it would be great for them to figure out how they can do it the best way. I agree with you that most people don't apply for scholarships enough.
Right.
And I think there are other avenues to get students to be more active in their college decision and saving up money and working during school and finding ways to take that debt burden off the table. But for the most part, I just try to let them know that I'm out there. I enjoy working with students, and I try to give alternative methods to just the, oh, I'm going to get a bunch of loans. I have a bunch of loans. I might pay them off before I die. Like, that's just not an option for me. I'd rather see them just live like they're in college, grind it out for the next 6 years, pay them off, never look back, and just keep moving forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
One trick is you never have to pay your own money. What you do is, if you have a year, so like you start at the beginning of your senior year, every single week you apply to every single day you apply to 3 grants. You're going to get a lot of no's, but you're going to get a lot of yeses too. And they're for stupid things. Because you got glasses, we'll pay for your books. There's stupid reasons why they give you grants. Because you have a mustache, we'll give you a grant. When you add them all together, you can actually completely pay for school. But one single grant, usually, because those huge grants and scholarships don't come too often.
Right.
It's those smaller ones that add up. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, they get stuck in the mindset, well, that's not enough to cover. I'll look
Mhm.
somewhere else. No, take that one and get a
Right.
second one, you
Right.
know? But we're at halfway point, so I just want to mention to people out there, um, anytime through the live cast that we're going, please post your questions. We look forward to answering your questions. Also, next week we're going to have a hilarious episode. It's going to be our bloopers and memories episode, so you don't want to miss next week. And there's a lot of things that are coming, so make sure you stay tuned because it's going to be phenomenal. Now, getting right back into it. Um, when when you're coaching your clients, majority of them are, already have the huge debts, mostly scholarships, and or not scholarships, mostly
Loans.
doctors, and mostly the 8 years, occasionally the 4 years, whatever. But they're large amounts. If they normally go through it, like you said, it would take their whole entire life if they're even lucky to get it paid off before they're dead. What's some tricks that can knock it out quicker?
Yeah. So the first thing I always tell them is, so a lot of my interns before they graduate, I used to ask them questions like, "Hey, you're going to graduate, this is a big job. How much are you going to make?" And I would just have them write down whatever they thought they were going to make. And I'd ask them, well, you're a pharmacist now. What kind of car are you going to drive? They're like, oh, I'm going to drive this. I had this one picked out. And the whole process I would ask them about, what about taxes? And what about student loans? And give me big trips planned. And I would set them up down this pathway to show them that by the time they take out taxes, maybe do some investing in their 401k, the look that most of them would give me, like, I don't have enough money. I need a second job. These are the things they would say. Like, perfect. I am so glad that you learned this on paper right now, as opposed to after your first paycheck or after you've already been to Europe for a month or already bought the new BMW or the new whatever. And I go, you need to realize that, yes, you're going to make more, but you're also going to pay more in taxes. You're going to just inevitably, you're going to have lifestyle creep. You're going to pay more. I would tell them, don't change anything. You live like you're in college, for like you've been in college the whole time. What if you change a thing? What if you just kept doing this and stockpiling cash, paying off your student loans, and making your debt a priority? If you do that, here's where you're going to end up in the end. And we go through some calculators and just walk through what it looks like. But I would just tell them realistically, you can do this in 6 years. You can do this in 7 years. Like it may be hard, but imagine having it gone, and then your money is free to do whatever you want. And they're like, well, I need to have a new car. I need a house. Like, no, you want a car.
You don't need.
Exactly. There's no need for anything. And I'm not saying you need to live with your parents still. I think you can go rent someplace. Well, if I'm renting, my parents say that I'm wasting money. I'm like, no, rent buys you time. It buys you freedom to maybe you get this dream job where you can go somewhere else now. You don't have to sell a house. For the same reason I tell them, don't think that signing up with like the student loan forgiveness by working with certain healthcare companies is going to be ideal for you, because now you're in debt to them. You owe them 10 years of service if they pay your loans. And if you're in year 7 and you get a dream job somewhere else, but you can't leave because of your student loan repayment, you're literally in debt to them. You are a slave. Why would you sign up for that? But if you're making your own payments on your own loan with your own plan, you are the master of your domain. You are in charge of everything, and you can set the rules. You can apply to a job in Alaska. You can take the summer off and go fishing if you have a game plan. You can do certain things, but it's all based on your choices. So I try to lay the alternative path out of, when you set a game plan and you are really focused on it, you can achieve it. But if you're waiting for someone else to do it for you, you will end up paying for 20 years. You will end up being stuck with it forever. And I promise you, there's multiple decisions in your life of where you're going to want to do something, but you can't because of your student loans. And that often doesn't come to be like, oh, my decision not to pay them off. It's the government has forced me into this, or somebody else is to blame because the government took advantage of me with high interest rates. I reject all of that.
Mhm. Well, you know, the funny thing is, with the forgiveness plan, it's created in a way to not pay you out.
Mm-mm.
You know, like you get a different job, oh, it's not going to pay you now. You do this, it's not going to pay you. Plus, even once you meet all the qualifications and you should be forgiven,
Mhm.
when everything's said and done, only 2% actually get
Yeah.
forgiven. Now, last year, I think it was 5%.
Yeah.
What are your likelihoods that you're in one of those small percentages that you're actually going to be forgiven?
Right.
Yeah.
I was there. I looked at that when I had student loans. I'm like, oh, I'll just do the forgiveness plan. I'm a nurse. And one of my colleagues who turned me on to Dave Ramsey, I said, this is what I'm going to do. He's like, that's dumb. I'm like, what? And he goes, no, think about this. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And it was dumb because they're hard to pay. And I've had so many clients go, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to pay those off. It's going to affect you.
Yeah.
So you might as well pay them off and get them gone.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's shocking to me that people are willing to give up the control
Yeah.
based on that.
Yeah.
Well, I can just file bankruptcy. No,
Nope. Yeah.
Nope.
no. Because it's federal, it doesn't go
Yeah.
in bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
It's
and that's the one. Well, they can't really do much to me. That's the federal government. They can seize whatever they want.
right.
You
So
know.
I've had a couple students that were quite funny, and one of them made the comment of, school should just be free. I'm like, okay. Like, I hear the same thing at the pharmacy counter that medicine should just be free. And they're like, oh. And so they kind of get it from that angle of the fact that, although I do agree with we shouldn't let anyone not get access to life-saving medications, but the amount of research and development it takes to make these medications and not all of them make it. I understand when a company finally hits a blockbuster, they're going to get rewarded for that.
Right.
But same thing with school. School doesn't need to be free. It definitely be cheaper. And I am hoping that with this big, beautiful bill thing that passed, that the schools will look at that and go, hey, if we aren't guaranteed student loans because there's a cap now, do they have to adjust that? I would like to see that happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
it's just it's out of hand right now, and it makes sense that they can keep raising tuition if they're guaranteed to get the loan. I mean, there's no way to not get the loan. Raise the tuition, keep guaranteed the tuition. So, I'm saving for my son's or his school right now, and he's 7.
Mhm.
I don't even know what to save for. I don't know how much I'm going to need, but I'm hoping this is a step in the right direction. That he'll have something when it comes time. But that number is very it's nefarious. I have no idea what it's going to end up being. And
Absolutely.
I'm saving for a goal that has no endpoint.
Yeah. But the beauty of that is you can flow it over to somebody else.
Yeah. Yep.
I had the same thing. I saved for both of my younger kids. Actually, I saved for all 3 of my kids. None of them went to college. And here in Missouri, we have what we call the A+ program. So if you
Okay.
do so well in high school and you do community service and your attendance and your grades, you get 2 years of college for nothing. All you do is pay for books.
Okay.
And so my middle child did that. And she came to me and she's like, Mom, I don't think I want to finish my 4-year degree. What do you think? And I said, well, I was on the 25-year plan for my first degree. So who am I to say?
Right.
She's very artsy, very creative. She's like, I want to be a nail tech. And I'm like, okay. And I've always said to my kids, I don't care what you do, as long as you enjoy what you do and you contribute to society. You're not going to freeload. You're going to have a job.
Yep.
Your job depends on your lifestyle.
Yep.
But luckily we were able to use our savings for her to go to nail tech school. So she has no student loan debt.
That's perfect.
I know. And she's like, I'm like, you know what? Again, I don't care what you do. as long as you like what you do and you contribute to society.
Yeah. So I look back on my life and I've had so many good mentors. One of that was my grandfather. He always just tried to make sure I was on the right side of the line at all times. And I'll never forget him for that. My dad's another one where he told me once, like, find something that you enjoy doing, because I don't care if you make $1 million a year. If you hate your job, it's not worth it.
Right.
And
Exactly.
no words have ever been truer. And so even now I see it where my favorite thing to do is when I get a intern in pharmacy school, that could be a first year or second year, they're like little puppy dogs. They are just this jumping around. They can't wait to get in their profession. They want to learn everything. They're little sponges. And they're so eager and so enthusiastic about the profession. I love to pair them up with my older pharmacists that might be towards the end of their career. They're kind of disgruntled, they've kind of been through the grind, but they have so much knowledge. And the amount of symbiotic relationship those two give each other is amazing, because they impart so much knowledge on the new ones, but the just being happy again about the profession and so eager and so optimistic is such a thing that wears off on my other pharmacists as well, that it adds fulfillment and enjoyment to their job. And I do it on purpose just for that reason. And it's great to see the outcome where, they learn so much from each other, and it keeps the circle of pharmacy just going down the path. And I think it needs to happen more.
Agreed. And good for you for doing that and looking and seeing how can we positively, because when you do that, you're setting the patients who are going to receive that care up for beneficial care. Because you're not going to have somebody who's crotchety, not caring what they're going to do, and doing whatever meds for the patients who are going to take those meds.
Yeah. And I remember when I was an intern, my last year of pharmacy school was quite hard. I had a lot of pharmacists I work with that I think they had a very rough time in their pharmacy school. And so it was almost like our profession has this school of hard knocks. Like, well, it was hard for me, so it's got to be hard for you. They made it rough for me, I'm going to make it rough for you. And
Nurses were the same.
I told myself I was going to break that cycle. And so I try to tell all my interns, you're paying for this. I want you to learn what you really want to learn. Like, what can I do to help you get the most out of this? And I just told myself, I'm never going to be mean to them. I can be stern and I can be, I can hold them accountable for what they need to learn, but I don't need to be mean about it. I don't need to make their life hard. I don't need to make it unnecessarily harder than it already is. I need them to walk out of it thinking, wow, like I struggled, but I learned, and I have the knowledge now to go do the next part of my career. And so that's way more beneficial to me than to be mean for 6 or 8 weeks to someone and make their life hard. And I've never understood why as a profession we've allowed that. And I don't allow it. So it's something that I'm breaking that cycle, and I'm hoping that others will be on board for that.
That's fabulous, Tony. It is funny how it seems like the medical profession is the worst about this. The doctors are the same thing. Well, I had to work 72 in a row. You should have to work 72 in a row. And you should go without sleep. And you should, what? Exactly how well are you treating patients on hour 50 without sleep? It seems like some of that has turned around. I'm so glad, because I know the same thing. I came up with in the era of the nurses ate their young, and I'm like, that's dumb. Like, let's collaborate.
Yep. Yeah. One of my favorite sayings at work is, how do we get to yes? Now, I work in a very regulated profession. Pharmacy is probably the most regulated profession. Just the laws are everywhere, and failure to know the law is no excuse. But I can't always say yes, but how do I get to yes? So I may not be able to do this for you because legally I can't, but I can do this for you. And I use that mantra of how do we get to yes? And I'm going to work with you to get some kind of resolution. It may not be the best, but it's something until we can actually get the resolution you want. Some things take time. Doctors are hard to get a hold of.
No, really?
Patient is difficult, but if we can do something to help tide things over, I'm okay with that. And I live in the gray area a lot in pharmacy, and I had a law professor, love him to death, but he said every day you practice pharmacy, you're breaking the law, and there's no, it's always true. It's just they've relaxed some things now to make it easier on the pharmacist, but
Yeah.
there are times where it's just very hard to take care of your patients and always be on the right side of the line, as it's the weekend and maybe something happened and you can see this person clearly needs something, and you're able to do enough research to help them out. And I tell all my students, if you're going to do something, make sure it's always in the benefit of the patient. That's a very easy position to justify.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
If it positively affects patient outcome, that is paramount. And that's exactly what should happen. And we do the same thing, obviously. We're going to bat for the patient. We're going to positively, to the extent that we can, positively affect that patient. Yeah, I've gone I'm not afraid to go toe to toe with docs.
Yep.
I'm a little bit sarcastic and just a little bit mouthy,
You can do that to doctors because there's very few of them and they have very little time with you. But you don't piss off the nurses.
Amen, brother.
There's tons of them and they see you all the time.
We can make or break your day. I like to get along with everybody, especially in the healthcare. But I do understand that everybody has their position that they're coming from. And the one thing that healthcare could really use, I think, is having a better understanding of the role that each person has. And I also think positive intent goes a long way. When you also, try to think, there's no way they went out of their way to make my day harder. There's just no way. No one has the time.
Right.
I have to assume that they literally thought they were doing what is best. We also all use Epic, and Epic has a billion different views based on your role. And so they literally might not be seeing what you're seeing. And so they also might be, what's easier for them is 2 clicks where I need them to do 3 clicks. And so sometimes it's just having a conversation, and I don't think we pick up the phone enough when we need to. We try to message back and forth, and that communication gets distorted. It's amazing what a phone call can do. Like, hey, I'm looking at your stuff. I see this. What did you intend to do here? Oh, what if you did this? Oh, yeah, I can do that. Like, if you can do that, that makes it 10 steps easier down here. So I think having that position and the ability to have those conversations can go a long way.
Agreed. And, if I remember right, I thought I read somewhere that the pharmacist was the original doctor until the MD came along. Because it used to be the pharmacist, because they knew all the stuff with all the medications. They knew how to treat things. And so they were the experts. And then doctors came along and they got elevated above the pharmacists. I'm like, wait a minute, these pharmacists, they know some stuff.
Yeah. I always look at it as that the doctors were busy diagnosing, like, you have this. And then they would just send a note to the doctor or to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist, oh, you have this, we're going to give you this medicine. And so that's kind of how it started. You probably see a lot more of that in Europe right now, where going to the pharmacy is almost like going to the minute clinic, where they can prescribe blood pressure medications. They can do a lot of things you would go to urgent care for. Or I also in France that they're the experts on mushrooms. So that's something we don't teach here in our school system, but I find that very interesting that the expert on mushrooms in France are the pharmacists. But there's a little bit more old school apothecary type feel on the European pharmacies than there is here in the US pharmacies.
But that's what they do. They do the research to know how this ingredient is going to affect this patient with this affliction. And it's not necessary to just throw a pill at everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think the newer generation of pharmacists, they're more in tune of maybe removing meds than adding meds. And we're always trying to figure out, can we take you off some stuff? Is there any way to make some improvements on this? And having those conversations with the doctors. And medicine is trial and error. There's no There's
Right.
no
It's a
recipe.
science.
Of, oh, it is this. It's always, we're going to try this and see how it works and see how you tolerate it. And to bring it back to coaching, I think it's the same thing with financial coaching is we
Mhm.
kind of have a blueprint, but we're going to try some things. And,
Right.
it's best if you log your expenses every day. It's best if you have the meeting once a month. It's best if you do this. But like any patient, you might miss a dose here and you miss one there. You don't stop taking your meds because of it. You get right back on board. So if
Right.
you forget a transaction here or there, or you miss a meeting with your budget, okay,
Mhm.
let's
Right.
not give up completely. Let's get back on board and let's try to make it better
Mhm.
for next month and realize it might take 3 months to iron this thing out, but you will be healthier financially if you do this. You'll be healthier physically if you take your medicine. There's a lot of correlation there.
Absolutely.
Now, for me, I always thought that, like the doctor would be the one prescribing, and sometimes you have three, four doctors, and then the pharmacist was like your final line of defense. So Dr. A gave you prescription A, Dr. B gave you B and C. A messes with C, so you probably should not take the two. Let's get with the doctors and find out what to actually give them because this is going to counteract each other.
That still
Um,
happens.
so one of the things I loved about hearing about you is you were known the happy pharmacist, which means in my book. So Mary's been with us for quite some time, and we have a lot of fun with her. She is an RN, and we call her the Money Coach Mary RN. She can shock your finances back in line. RNs use those paddles, right?
Yeah.
And she can shock, but we're shocking your finances. I was using that analogy with you, right? Because you said the happy pharmacist. So you are the last line of defense. So you take their finances and make sure it's in order so that they can be happy.
Yeah, I think my tagline is that Strict RX is your prescription for success. That's what we like to say. But yes, we try to keep them on the right path to ensure that it's the right dose for their finances.
Mhm. And with today's economy and today's world, it doesn't matter how much money you make. I think it's 82% of this world of the United States population is living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
And so your demographics is 82% of the people.
Yep.
Mhm.
No, I have pharmacists I coach that make great income and they spend every single dollar of it and they
Mhm.
don't have an emergency fund and they have car payments and mortgage payments and school payments and they would rather go on vacation than save for emergency fund and
Mhm.
they make every mistake that anybody else makes as well. And so I think it's easy for people to think, oh, based on their profession, they are just living their best life. Um,
Mhm.
they might be living their best life, but they're also living paycheck to paycheck. I think they could live a better life, and excuse me, my wife and I are very comfortable telling people when, oh, like, oh, we'd love to, it's just not in the budget this month.
Mhm.
Some people take offense to that. I think people are like, well, you're a pharmacist, you can afford this. Like, that's fine. I mean, maybe I can. I could choose to. We're choosing not to because it's not in our budget. And it's a conversation that you know we're happy to have with people. Um, it isn't always met, with the I guess love I wish people would give it, but it is what it is, and it's our reality that we live, and it's okay. Like it's a life we've chosen, and we're okay with that.
Mhm. Well, one of the things I wanted to say, we're getting about that time. So, wanted to mention a couple things. One, um, we're doing these live casts now. So when you come here, anytime you ask questions, we want to interact with you. We want to engage you. We want this to be fun and you're part of it. So if you have a question, we want you to ask it. We're growing this into a whole new phase where you are the center. And so make sure when you come here, bring your questions. We actually have been going for more than a year. In July, it has been 1 year, past July. And we finally got one special guest stumped. So we've been having an ongoing competition. Can somebody stump our special guest? So bring your challenging questions. A week ahead of time, you see the topic. Now, the other thing we like to say is we have an absolute CRM program which is phenomenal. It's the Mac Daddy of your business. It does everything. Posting on social media, I mean, it does everything you can think of. The CRM, the ads, it does everything. Well, the Mac Daddy is going to be going away. If you have it, you keep it. If you don't, you're going to have to go down to the core, and that you have to build everything yourself. You don't get everything just done for you. So it's still going to be a phenomenal program. Make sure you check the link below because there's awesome things coming with it. Just make sure you check it out. And then the final thing I want to, or not the final thing, but one of the things I want to mention is we have a community. It's attached to YouTube. It's right here. All you have to do is click community. You'll want to join that. You want to be a part of it because there's going to be some great things, phenomenal things coming. We are currently in the stages of building it right now, and it's going to be in full operation as of January 1st. So make sure you check that out and become a part of it. Now, Tony, you have inspired me a lot. And I hear that so many people are upset because they don't get to talk to the happy pharmacist. So, do you have a message or a word for them? And his website is in the description below. But do you have a word for your people?
Yeah, I'll tell you that the thing that I really preach a lot to my clients is personal responsibility. And the number one advice that I know I received once is when I look in the mirror and realize that 95% of the things that happen to me in my life are based on my decisions. There's a sense of peace that comes with that, knowing that I'm in charge. And so I would encourage everybody to look at the decisions you make in your day-to-day life and see what outcomes you get from them. And once you realize that you're the one in control, there's nothing you can't do. And whether it's your finances, or if you want a better marriage, or if you want to get a new job, or you want to lose weight, or you want to do anything, it just takes you to acknowledge that you're in charge of it, and your decisions will end ultimately get you to where you want to be. So, a coach can help, but they can't want it more than you want it. And so
Right.
you can at least be honest with yourself and treat yourself better than, at least treat yourself like you're someone you care for. I'm always shocked at how many people give their pets medicine every day, but then forget to take their medicine. And,
Right.
treat yourself as if you're someone you actually care for. And that's everything in your life. And if you can do that, you'll be astonished at what you can achieve.
That's fabulous, Tony.
Thank you.
Final words, Mary?
I am so glad, Tony, that you were able to join us tonight. You are a wealth of information, both in the pharmacy world and in the coaching world. Would you like to come back on again?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If I
Like we talked before on the schedulers, so I usually rotate everybody out every 6 months. So I will put you down for in about 6 months, and we'll get you back on here.
Perfect. That sounds great.
Any of y'all out there want to come on the podcast, or on the LIVEcast? There's a link below that'll connect you right with Mary.
Use it.
And so, Tony, we thank you for coming. And if y'all want to get with Tony, his link is below. Make sure you get in touch with him because, after all, he's here to make you happy.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.